This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're speaking about whether to stack or not to stack. Anti-stacking provisions are clear and unambiguous, and as such are sufficient to limit coverage to one vehicle and one limit of liability. Plaintiffs Mark and Karen Kuhn sued seeking a declaratory judgment of the available liability insurance covering an accident between a semitruck owned by Jason Farrell and a school bus driven by Mark. In Mark and Karen Kuhn versus Owners Insurance Company, a June 28, 2023 decision of the Court of Appeals of Illinois, the semitruck was insured under a policy issued by Owners Insurance Company, and that policy also insured 6 other vehicles, 2 other semitrucks, and 4 trailers that were not involved in the accident. Each vehicle had a limit of $1 million per accident. The Kuhns sought a declaration that the coverage limits for all of the covered vehicles should be aggregated or stacked, resulting in a total of available liability insurance of $7 million for the accident. The trial court entered a written judgment in favor of the Kuhns, concluding that 1, the policy was ambiguous, 2, because the ambiguity should be construed against the owners, stacking of the policy's coverage limits was permitted, and 3, the aggregate limit of insurance for liability coverage under the policy was $7 million. Accordingly, the court granted the Kuhn's motion for summary judgment and entered judgment against owners. Owners appealed. Stacking ordinarily involves combining or aggregating the policy limits applicable to more than one vehicle where the other vehicles are not involved in the accident. The rationale behind not allowing stacking of liability coverage, the liability policies insure particular cars or vehicles, is contrary to plaintiff's position. Because the insurance attaches to a particular car, that should answer the question. However, the Illinois Supreme Court recently declined to consider adopting a per se rule barring stacking of automobile liability coverage as a matter of law, because the anti-stacking provision in that case was unambiguous and enforceable as written. Cases entitled Hess versus Estate of Clam. The insurance policy issued by owners provided combined liability coverage on each of the 7 vehicles of up to $1 million each accident. The Kuhns argued that the wording of the policy and accompanying declarations were ambiguous pursuant to Illinois case law because the coverages and premiums set forth in the declarations were repeated for each insured vehicle. Owners argued that the policy declarations were consistent with each other and not ambiguous. Owners argued the policy contained an unambiguous anti-stacking provision that cleared up any arguable ambiguity in the declarations and should be enforced as written. In particular, subsection 5 explicitly stated that the limits for the same or similar coverage applying to other vehicles could not be added to determine the amount of coverage for any accident. Analyzing the facts and the law, the court noted that in general, anti-stacking provisions in insurance policies are not contrary to public policy, and that in Illinois, an unambiguous anti-stacking clause will be given effect by a reviewing court. In this case, the limit of insurance provisions refer back to the declarations to define the policy limits, and the declarations page state 7 separate times that the combined liability limit at each vehicle is $1 million for each accident. Reading the policy as a whole and interpreting its plain language, the court concluded that the declarations are consistent, not ambiguous, and the anti-stacking clause set forth in the policy clarified any possible ambiguity. The coverages varied based on the vehicle insured. For example, the premiums for Vehicle 1 and Vehicle 2, both semi-trucks, were identical for liability, UIM and UM coverage, and medical payments, but only Vehicle 1 had comprehensive and collision coverage. The anti-stacking clause, even if some ambiguity existed, cleared up any possible confusion. The explicit anti-stacking clause of the policy was unambiguous, and the court concluded should be enforced as written. Instead of applying the policy's clear anti-stacking provision, the trial court engaged in the very sort of tortured and strained reading of the policy to find an ambiguity that the court and the Illinois Supreme Court have repeatedly rejected. This, the Court of Appeal concluded, was error. The trial court's order was reversed, and the case remanded with directions to enter summary judgment in favor of owners. In my opinion, it should be axiomatic that a trial court should never engage in tortured or strained reading of a policy to find an ambiguity that did not exist just because they felt sorry for the injured person. A clear and unambiguous policy wording that refuses to allow stacking of coverages that apply to more than one vehicle insured when only one vehicle is involved in an accident should be enforced as written. The Illinois Court of Appeals read the entire policy and found no ambiguity and insisted on enforcing the contract of insurance as written. Allowing stacking would require insureds who have more than one vehicle to buy, or in this case, 7 separate policies to avoid stacking, which really takes away the need for insurance and changes what is the real intent of an insurance policy insuring more than one vehicle. This video was adapted from my blog, Zelma on Insurance, which is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL zelma.com/blog. If you found this blog or the videos to be of interest, please tell your friends and colleagues and let them subscribe to the blog and the videos, which anyone can subscribe to for free. And you can also, if you wish greater details, subscribe and receive videos and other materials limited to subscribers to excellence in claims handling at my locals community or to Zelma on Insurance at my Substack publications. Please subscribe, and thank you for your attention.